Rightio. All good? Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Just here to let people know this will be the last day for our staff here in Parliament. The Premier said this morning that she's here to protect jobs in Queensland, but there's 4 that she's got rid of, and we've got the face of one of those staffers here today. And we also wanted to use this opportunity to thank all those people out in the Queensland, the flood of support and the financial assistance, those generous gifts, donations that have come in from people to help us try and keep the fight up down here in Parliament against the 2 major parties, and just to put a face to those jobs that will be lost today, we just want to invite Brad Tassell up, who's one of our staff, who's moved up here from North Queensland, sold his house and is now without a job.
Thanks, Robbie. Look, I just wanted to say a few things. I came down here in October last year, moved my family, took up the position down here because I truly believe in the Katter Party and the boys and what they're doing and how they represent regional Queensland. Also had my sick father as well, who had to come down for treatment in Brisbane, so I wanted to be around here to make sure that he was fully supported. And then to have this done by the Premier and just remove staff just indiscriminately like that was pretty upsetting for me. I was out at Birdsville on holidays when I heard the news through the media. I think it was through Sarah Vogel's tweet on Twitter, and it was pretty upsetting for me. And you know, I just think that it's a disgrace that this has been done. And I'm certainly going to take it further and go to the Fair Work Commission and make a complaint, because I believe that we've been unfairly dismissed through no fault of our own.
Sorry for the interruption. We'll continue. You're not into freedom of expression, are you?
You've had your go, mate. You've had your go now.
I welcome anybody coming to this land, all refugees, over the borders, let them in.
I certainly don't believe in freedom of speech, do you? You're a bit worried about what we're going to say, are you? We've got freedom of speech here. Freedom of speech.
We'll just do it upstairs.
What do you think?
Muslims are welcome,
Racists are not. Muslims are welcome, racists are not. Muslims are welcome, racists are not. Muslims are welcome, racists are not. Muslims are welcome, Anning is 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 not. Muslims are welcome, racists are not.
Muslims welcome.
I'll say Anning.
Shame on all of you. mic? Pass the mic, I'll set up for it. Still on?
Sure, where would you like to stand?
We welcome them expressing their views.
Freedom of speech, live and well. Perfect. Work for you guys?
Ready to go?
Yep.
Happy?
Yep.
Ready to go? Look, I just wanted to say I'm one of the 4 staff that has been dismissed and will finish up tomorrow afternoon in Parliament House, and obviously one back in the electoral office in Charters Towers. And I just wanted to say that, you know, myself, John and Connor work extremely hard down here representing the people of North Queensland and also regional Queensland as well on issues that are important to those regions. Myself, I'm a North Queensland born and bred, Mount Isa, grew up in Cairns, so I'm very close to what the issues are in those areas. So it's pretty disappointing for me, and you know, I got to hear about it while I was on holidays out at Birdsville Races on Sunday through a tweet, I think, from Sarah Vogler through a Twitter account, and that was extremely disappointing for me to hear that. And I just believe that, you know, we're victims in regards to all of this, and I think it's disgraceful to the Premier that she's, you know, used coercion to basically threaten another party to toe the line and threatening to take away their resources, or in fact taking away their resources that only serve regional Queensland. So, yeah, that's very upsetting for me. Myself, I'll be taking it to the Fair Work Commission as well, because I believe that we've been removed unfairly, and I'll be certainly following that through as well with that complaint.
How many of you are going to take it to the Fair Work Commission?
Well, I've spoken to the boys, and I think pretty much all of us are going to go to the Fair Work Commission and see it through. I know myself, I'm really keen on doing that, because I just think that, you know, we've worked very hard for the Katter Party. We've worked very hard for regional Queenslanders as well, and I think that through no fault of our own, this has come about. So, and I think the way and the manner that it's been done has been pretty disgraceful.
The Premier asked the MPs to apologise for Senator Anning's comments. Would you have preferred if they just done that?
No, I fully support the KP stance 100%. I don't think they should be apologising for anything. I think that they're standing their ground, and I believe that the right to freedom of speech and the right to voice different opinions and diverse opinions in Parliament is very important. And I think that what happened in Parliament at the last sitting is a very dangerous precedent, and it's very dangerous for democracy in the state if that is allowed to continue.
Can we just ask you what you made of the small protest out there?
I have been in this place for 20 odd years, and we had mass demonstrations, not pissant little business like out there, 3,000 and 4,000 people here. And every time they did it, our vote went up and up, because they defied the will of the people. The people of Brisbane have spoken very clearly. The ABC put out there a loaded question, in my opinion, very strongly loaded against us, and over 40,000 respondents, 75% of them said, don't apologise. Now, you know, they could have framed that question like, do you want, you know, more people coming to Australia or less people? That's not how they framed the question. It was a loaded question, and yet 75% of the people came our way. We are game to voice the people, and you must understand that we have been the voice of the hard hats and the hard hands, the workers of Australia. The trade unions, I mentioned the CFMEU, and I mentioned the new ACTU executive. They have put out magnificent papers demonstrating clearly that since 2013, 1 out of every 2 jobs has gone to a temporary visa holder. Now that means 1.4 million Australians have been deprived of a job because of the mass visa entrants coming to Australia. And I was there the night Michael O'Connor stood the then Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, over the Section 457s. And it was the ALP that introduced the Section 457s. Now, just to give you a demonstration of when moving our ground at all. The Labor Party at their conference on the weekend is reported to have carried overwhelmingly a vote for for Israel to be taken over by Palestine. Now, whether that is right or not, I don't know. But I saw it reported in the media and on the social media as well. But there has been no doubt that that has been their policy all the time through. And all we have ever said, Fraser may have said it in a different way, all we have ever said is if you're going to bring people in from North Africa, from the Middle East, then surely the preference must go to the identifiable persecuted minorities. I mean, the Sikhs, the Jews and the Christians. There are 84,000 Sikhs murdered in 1 year, and the most of them was in India. But there was a damn lot of them in Pakistan, which is, when I say Middle East. So we're not backing off that policy. And the more that sort of thing takes place, we should go out and thank them really, because I saw it here. We had 3,000 protesters on one occasion. On another occasion, we had 2,000 protesters on separate issues. And our vote just went straight through the floor. We started off with a little party, 17% when I came in. We were 42% by the time we left. They stabbed Jockey Peterson back and became a Liberal Party. So we won't be backing off. Have you finished?
Yep.
State Place? Well, look, Fraser and I just want a few words. There's been a lot of social media saying that there has been discussions with us about preferences. We split our ticket. On one side, ALP preference, on the other side, LNP preference. We've always split our ticket. You make up your own mind. But there's no reason why we can't. And remember, we run third in a lot of electorates. It's our preferences are the really powerful weapon. But I'm here today to deny categorically that there has been any official or formal discussions have taken place along these lines whatsoever. Our party policy has been and remains that we let the people decide whether they want to go for the LNP or the ALP. That's up to them. But brutal politics being what it is, I've never ever said never in my life. So whilst I'm saying it most certainly hasn't taken place, I never rule out anything in the future. But there is no intentions at this stage of any sort of discussions along those lines. Now, this is out there in the social media. That we've had discussions, and I want to formally and categorically deny that any formal or official discussions have taken place. And finally, before I hand over to Fraser, we will be having a meeting with the new Prime Minister. Obviously, I'm in a very powerful position in Canberra. Two of the crossbenchers vote with the ALP all of the time and would never, ever support a Liberal Party. So that leaves three of us that they've got to rely upon if they want stable government, and I'm one of those three. Now, for reasons I don't want to bore you with, I'm in a very powerful position. And we look forward to working with the new government. Scott Morrison, whatever his shortcomings may be, is more acceptable to us than a Malcolm Turnbull. So we'll be having discussions. We want development projects in the north. We want affordable living for our old people, and that gets back to electricity. And there's only one answer there as far as I'm concerned. And I speak with authority. I was the Electricity Commissioner. We're the cheapest power in the world at the time. So those will be matters for discussion with the Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister chooses not to meet with us, then we're in a different ball game, and one that, quite frankly, I will enjoy. Fraser, over to you.
Yeah, well, all I can say is today this is a blatant attack on freedom of speech as far as I can see. What the Premier has done is nearly tantamount to blackmail, asking people to apologise for something that I said, which, by the way, was taken out of context by all and sundry. Then said, if you don't, we'll remove your staff, which is a shocking thing to do. So I've made a formal complaint today to the President of the Senate regarding whether the Premier is in breach of the Parliamentary Privileges Act 1987, and I've asked him to investigate it and see if she is in contempt of the Senate. So we'll find out what happens from that. But lose 4 good staff members to put good men out of a job or good people out of a job is wrong. It's contemptible, and especially for a party like the Labor Party.
Senator Anning, given that, as you say, they are 4 good men and you are considered the voice of the Queensland regions, would you ever consider changing your tact in a way that potentially could save their jobs? And give regional Queensland the voice that it deserves, as you guys
Changing?
perhaps the position or the way that you'd said it,
No.
or some sort
No,
of
absolutely
apology,
not.
if that was to return these 4 good men their jobs?
No.
They'll be asking us to, ban tree clearing next, and no runoff on the Barrier Reef, so we'll close the whole sugar industry down.
So,
But look, can I just say,
Well, Fraser Anning, I wouldn't mind
You-
actually
you're gone.
getting
yeah, well,
Would
I
you
mean, bowing down to a
if their
blackmail
jobs were
like that, absolutely not.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you had the chance to do the speech again, would you still include the term honest?
They're just 2 words in the English language, aren't they? Really, and I don't know if you know, but in Hansard, you can look it up, there's been 5 other politicians who have used exactly those same 2 terms in the last 6 years. So it's easy to research, and it was deliberately taken out of context. Nothing to do with the Holocaust. They're 2 words, and good men fought and died for our right to say anything we like. And it wasn't an attack on anyone in particular. It was taken out of context deliberately to take the pressure off Turnbull at the time. I think that's why they had the Hall of Tears down there with grown men hugging and kissing and falling all over the place, and then 2 days later they found out that the majority of people in Australia backed it, and then they stepped back from all their remarks.
Can I just say that we have had massive support from the Jewish community in Australia, and here's the reason why. I could have chosen 1,000 of these things, but the one I chose is Avi Yemeni. As Australia's proudest Jew, I feel compelled to make this video. I am sickened because once again, the perpetually outraged, saw him out there, are up in arms about something they care nothing about. But this time they're invoking something very close to me. They're using the pain and suffering of my community, the horrors of the Holocaust that my grandparents escaped, to push their agenda. Many of those who are pushing that narrative hate Jews. In fact, one of the first criticisms came from the Islamic Council, people that hate Jews. In conclusion, Senator Fraser Anning has done more for the Jewish community in Israel than most of those who are outraged have ever done in their entire careers. And we make no apologies for the fact that we are out there to protect people who are being persecuted in their own country. In Sydney and Melbourne, Jewish children go to school under armed guard. And I can give you 100 other examples. Fraser moved in the Parliament.
I moved a motion to stop the funding of the Palestinian organisation. We are sending them $43.8 million a year. And the reason, I did that because the Palestinian organisation have a pay-to-slay program where they reward people for killing Israelis. So we got that, I put the motion up, and there were 5 people sitting on my side, and the 3 parties who condemned me after my speech were the Liberal, the Labor and the Greens, and they're all sitting on the other side. So they're quite happy to send the money over there. So they're very hypocritical, and I'll still do it again this next time I'm going down, because I got Julie Bishop to take 10 million out of it. So there's still 33.8 million going over there of your money to pay for slay programs to the Palestinian Authority.
But look, please people, I ask you, get this out there in the media. And I'm quoting from the Council of Trade Unions and my own union, the CFMEU. They've kicked me out at this stage. My own union, I'm quoting from their documents. There are 640,000 people coming, forget about who they are, where they're from, coming into this country each year, all eligible for work. 640,000. There are 300,000 school leavers. That's over 900,000 people looking for jobs in an economy that's only generating 200,000 jobs. Now, every country keeps intake, visa intake, in line with their economic situation. It is a mile out of kilter. Since 2013, and I'm quoting from the Council of Trade Unions paper, half the jobs since 2013 have gone to temporary visas. Not to Australians, but to temporary visas. And they don't go home. Like Mexican wetbacks, they just stay here. So soon they'll have the lot. Any other questions that you wish to ask?
Has there been any response
Fraser
from
and
the Triple C? Has there been any response from the Triple C?
There's no response from the Triple C as of yet.
And what's the reaction from KAP constituents been like?
We've been overwhelmed with support in our offices, and we've already had to be
About 80% to 20%.
We'd already had to start talking to, constituent inquiries we're getting from right across Queensland, particularly Western areas, asking for help, simply saying we don't have the capacity to help you all now because, I'm flat out getting around, getting across constituent inquiries, and it's the same for Nick and Shane. So there's some pretty, they're the troubling conversations for us to have, to say to people now who have come accustomed to us helping them out that we can't.
Rob, at the start when you said that people have been generous and people have been donating money.
So we've had financial contributions coming in now for people that, and really without us calling for it. We just want to say thanks very much to those people that have.
What are they doing money for though? To keep workers or to...
Well, I probably have to ask them, but I guess we're saying we're here to keep up the fight and provide an alternate view in Parliament, and primarily resources or staffing down here would help us do that job. So if we get enough staff, if we did get enough contributions, we'd look at trying to fund ourselves down here. If the government takes away our resources, we don't have much money, but we'll try and do what we can to, because we don't like turning people away that come to us for help.
I just should make the remark, I'm not exactly pure merino myself, and it would be ridiculous. That if we were, moving down along racial lines, that is not what we're saying. We're saying in North Africa, in the Middle East, if you're going to bring the people in, please, why would you give precedent to the persecutors instead of the persecuted? And I'm sure there's some good people of the other faith too, but identifiable groups, they are being persecuted, and I use the example of the Sikhs, 84,000 murdered in just 1 year.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
I'm going to go and catch a car.